Hello everyone, dear friends. Today our review is devoted to a device that, I am sure, should be in every smart home because it is directly related to safety. And in a smart home, safety is in first place for us, even above comfort and the automation of routine work. We are talking about a fully autonomous actuator for a water or gas valve from MOES. Its first advantage is that almost anyone can handle the installation and it does not require any interference with the existing water or gas line. The second important advantage is that you can shut off water or gas even when there is no electricity in the house. We simply use a leak sensor or a carbon monoxide sensor, which usually run on batteries, and, when the power of the ZigBee gateway is backed up, we get an autonomous system that will protect your home from flooding or a gas leak. Let us look at this device in more detail, install it, check its capabilities in the Tuya app and the automation scenarios, and of course see how it behaves in the Home Assistant smart home system. The actuator model is PM070DTYZ. The declared operating temperature range is from -10 to +40 degrees Celsius at a relative air humidity of up to 95%, so it can safely be installed both in an apartment and in a private house in an unheated room. The maximum working pressure in the line is up to 1.6 MPa and the torque of the actuator is in the range from 30 to 60 kg/cm, which is more than enough for a normal ball valve, even if it has started to seize and opens with some effort. The time for full opening and closing of the valve is from 5 to 10 seconds. The actuator is powered by 4 AA batteries, the operating voltage is 6 volts. It can run for more than 1 year without replacing them. The radio module operates in the range from 2.405 to 2.480 GHz with a maximum output power of up to +10 dBm, which means it is a classic ZigBee device that integrates into an existing smart home network without any problems. It comes in a small cardboard box. On the front side you see the device itself, on top the MOES manufacturer logo and a mark that the device belongs to the Tuya Smart home ecosystem, and at the bottom the communication protocol is indicated, in my case this is ZigBee. On the back side there is an example of how the device is mounted and its main technical specifications are given. You do not need to worry about delivery. Although the device is not fragile, inside everything is packed very securely in polypropylene. Let us start with the manual. In this case I really recommend at least flipping through it. The manual is available in several languages, and if yours is not there you can scan the QR code and open the version on the website. The really useful part there is how to mount the bracket correctly and how to put the device into pairing mode. The mounting kit includes 2 rather thick steel plates for fixing it to the pipe and a rubber spacer that you can use if the pipe diameter is small and the bracket simply wobbles. The minimum and maximum pipe diameter are not specified separately, but in practice it will be limited by the length of the clamping screw. 3 mounting screws are also included and there is a hex key in the kit for tightening them. And of course the kit includes the valve actuator itself. The actuator itself is quite large and heavy. Structurally it is a motor with a swing arm that is rigidly fixed to the water or gas pipe and mechanically drives the ball valve installed on it. The left and right sides of the housing are smooth and have no elements. On the front there is a large orange button with the word push. This is the manual control mode of the actuator. We press and hold the button and with the other hand we can open or close the valve. It presses with noticeable force, which provides extra protection against accidental presses, especially by curious children's hands. On the back there is a compartment for 4 AA batteries. The cover also opens with some effort. The plastic is thick and it is difficult to break it by accident. We install the batteries, close the cover tightly and move on to the top part of the housing. There is an element in the form of a small shield that hints at the protective function of the device. Here we also find 2 control buttons. The control button is responsible for opening and closing the actuator in a semi-manual mode, and the set button puts the actuator into pairing mode. Next to them are 2 LEDs. The upper one flashes while the actuator is operating or when the device is in binding mode, and the lower one lights up when the battery charge is low. At the bottom of the housing there is a plastic bracket for mounting to the pipe. Thanks to the oblong slot you can adjust the position of the actuator to the length of the ball valve handle. The rotary mechanism itself is seated on a shaft and secured with a nut with a spring washer so that the lever does not turn under load and does not unscrew by itself. Let us take the device apart. To do this we unscrew the nut on which the lever is mounted and remove it. It sits quite tightly and will never slip because the shaft is not round but rectangular. Next we unscrew the 4 screws in the lower part of the housing and remove the bottom cover. Before that we need to pry off the button. In the upper part of the housing there is the main control board and, interestingly, it has 2 connectors with pins for programming. One of them is marked Program and has 4 contacts, and the second is marked UART, also with 4 pins. This is a clear hint that if you want you can reflash the device or possibly read logs, which is rare for ready-made ZigBee actuators. Next to it is the ZigBee board itself, which is responsible for communication with the hub. The presence of a small speaker was a surprise for me, so I did not look inside in vain. It is a built-in beeper that gives a sound signal when the battery charge is low. This is a very useful little thing that is easy to miss in the manual. In the lower part of the device there is a motor with a gearbox that is screwed to the housing with 4 screws. The design looks solid and is intended for long-term operation. I unscrewed the motor and here I had another pleasant surprise. The gears of the gearbox turned out to be made not of plastic, as is often the case, but of a metal alloy. At least the magnet in the screwdriver is clearly attracted to them. The grease is in place, which already inspires confidence in the durability of the design. One of the gears is made in the form of a rectangular sector, and when it rotates it presses a microswitch that acts as a limit switch and stops the motor at the right point, either when the valve is fully open or when it is fully closed. The small gear located directly under the manual control button is spring-loaded. When the button is pressed it is pushed down and disengages from the main gear on which the actuator lever is mounted. This makes it possible to open or close the valve manually without damaging the gearbox. Even if the valve ends up turned not exactly by 90 degrees, the next time it operates the motor will still stop at the correct end positions. The same microswitches that act as position sensors are responsible for this. Now let us connect the actuator to the Tuya Smart smart home ecosystem. I assume that the app is already installed and you are registered in it. We switch the device to pairing mode. For this we quickly press the set button 3 times until the indicator LED starts blinking rapidly. After that in the upper right corner of the app we tap Add Device and wait. In most cases after a few seconds the actuator is found automatically and it can be added to your Tuya Smart Home right away. If this does not happen we refresh the list with a light swipe down, select the ZigBee socket category or a similar device, then specify the required ZigBee gateway, confirm that the indicator on the actuator is blinking and wait for the binding process to complete. Here our valve controller has been found, everything is fine and it has been added to the Tuya Smart smart home ecosystem. In the main smart home menu no detailed information from the actuator is displayed, so you always need to go inside its plugin. Let us go in. At the very top we see the status line. The device is now reporting that it is working normally. Below is the main control button. We press it and the actuator starts changing its state. If the valve was closed it will open, if it was open it will close. 2 small switches a little lower perform the same function, but in addition to control they also show the current status, whether the valve is now open or closed. Below that the battery level is shown, in my case it is now 100%. The work state field changes only while the actuator is moving. When the actuator opens or closes the valve a corresponding label appears here and when it is at rest the status stopped is displayed. The next line duplicates the state of the valve itself, whether it is open or closed. Below that is the timer block. Here you can set both a one-time action and a schedule by day of the week and time and you can create quite a lot of timers. I would immediately create a timer once a week that opens and then immediately closes the valve so that the ball valve does not seize up. So the main window gives us 2 key things. It allows us to open or close the valve and see its current status. Let us go to the settings. Everything is quite standard there. Automation scenes, grouping, enabling push notifications when the device goes offline. At the time of making this review there were no firmware updates. The version of the ZigBee module is 1.1.0 and the microcontroller firmware is 2.0.0. In this device automation is one of the most important functions, unless you bought it for watering a garden or vegetable patch. In that case I think it will be more about watering by schedule, but with automation based on a soil moisture sensor. First we will see what the device can do as a trigger, that is, when our actuator plays the main role in automation for other smart devices. The following options are available here. A switch on or off. This is a little strange because there is a separate option for the valve status, whether it is open or closed. You can set a trigger for the moment when the valve opens or closes and also for when an error occurs. For example, when the closing or opening operation lasts longer than it should or the valve encounters an obstacle or the battery is discharged. So the main automation option here will rather be the transmission of its own status on or off or, for example, the status of the valve, whether it is open or closed. As a secondary option you can set an alert if the closing or opening operation lasts too long, which will indicate that something is wrong with the valve. Now we look at what the actuator can do in the role of an executor. Everything here is very simple and clear, to open or close the ball valve, and in fact nothing more is required from it. We create a typical automation with a leak sensor. We select the sensor, set the condition leak detected at any time and on any day of the week, and then add the action close the valve. If desired we add a push notification to the smartphone that the leak protection has been triggered. The second no less important scenario is for a gas stove or gas heating. In this case we use an air quality sensor or a smoke sensor. In the automation settings we select the item smoke detected, also without restrictions by time or day of the week, specify our actuator and set the action close the gas supply valve plus a notification to the smartphone. There are many automation options here. It all depends on your tasks and the set of sensors, and this smart actuator can already shut off water and gas or control automatic irrigation right out of the box. Let us see what we can see in Home Assistant through the Tuya integration. We go to it, refresh it, and go inside to look for our actuator. Here it is. We go inside. In the device information we see this data. In control we have only one switch available, it is now on. We turn it off and it starts closing. And we see the event log. It is there as well. Even if I press the button manually, the event log changes and the switch changes to water open or gas open, on. This is the Home Assistant Tuya integration. Let us go to our ZigBee 2 MQTT integration. For beginners, I talked about it in great detail in 2 of my lessons on YouTube. You need to put the integration into the mode for connecting new devices and press the set button on the actuator 3 times until it goes into pairing mode. After a few seconds the actuator will be detected by our ZigBee stick and will be ready to be added to the Home Assistant Smart Home. We go inside and, as we can see, the picture matches. The actuator is defined as an end device and is not a router. The model is detected correctly. On the Exposes tab we see its state and can control it, open or close it. Below its status is shown, now it is closed. I open it. Now it is open. While it is closing or opening the status changes to unknown. For some reason the battery is shown as 0 for me, although in fact it is 100%. Possibly this information will update later. The signal quality is 189. On the state tab we see what our actuator sends, the battery, signal quality, status and the current status of the device. So the actuator is fully ready for operation and will work perfectly together with a flood sensor. I will show an example of installation. For demonstration I have this set of pipes and I will immediately note that the device is designed for home use, so industrial diameters are not needed here. Here the actuator is fixed on a pipe with a diameter of 32 mm. As you can see it sits perfectly, securely, and without play. Next is an example on a 25 mm pipe, and in my opinion this is the most optimal size. If the pipe is smaller you can use the standard rubber spacer or, in the simplest case, just wrap some electrical tape to compensate for the diameter. At my home, for example, there is a 25 mm pipe and a 1/2-inch ball valve. The general installation principle is this. We fix the actuator on the pipe or directly on the valve body, it depends on its length, but at first we do not tighten it completely, we leave a little play for adjustment. Then we set the position so that the arms of the actuator rotary mechanism fully grip the ball valve lever in the center. Only after that do we finally tighten the bracket on the pipe so that the device sits firmly in its place. If you have a valve with a so-called butterfly handle, do not worry, you will not have to change the valve itself. It is enough to unscrew the nut on top, remove the butterfly and replace it with a normal extended handle. After such a replacement you will already be able to fully control this ball valve from your smartphone through our actuator. We check how it works in real conditions. As you can see, the actuator opens the ball valve without any problems. We press close and the actuator just as confidently moves the valve to the closed position. Despite the fact that there is a small play between the actuator arms and the valve lever, the valve itself both opens and closes reliably, all the way, just as if you were doing it by hand. We measure the time. Full closing took about 10 seconds and opening about 7 seconds. For a household device this is an excellent result, especially since in real life you will not always get to the valve so quickly, especially if it is installed in a hard-to-reach place. I consider the hero of today's review an excellent and in fact logical addition to water leak and gas leak sensors. All these sensors by themselves can only shout about a problem, and it is exactly such an actuator that completes the entire automation chain and turns a warning into a specific action. It actually shuts off water or gas and helps avoid very unpleasant consequences from a flooded apartment to a dangerous leak. This is one of those rare stories where a smart home works not for convenience but for real safety. One of the key advantages of this actuator is that it does not require any interference with the existing main line. You do not need to call a plumber, cut pipes or replace already installed valves with some special motorized versions. The actuator is installed on top of a standard ball valve, tightened with plates, and the mechanics then do their job. So you keep your existing plumbing hardware and simply add brains and an actuator on top. For many people this is a fundamental point. Less hassle, less risk of damaging something and therefore lower costs. I would also like to highlight the complete autonomy of the device in terms of power. The actuator runs on ordinary AA batteries and the valve itself remains fully functional by hand. You can always come and turn the lever or you can use the orange button on the housing. Together with sensors that also run on batteries and backup power for the ZigBee gateway, you get a system that will continue to perform its main function even when the power in the house is cut off. Add here the sound indication of low charge, the metal gearbox and the position limit switches and we get a quite reliable device designed for more than one season of operation. From the point of view of smart home capabilities, this is also a very flexible tool. Through Tuya Smart you get remote control, open and closed status, timers, schedules and, most importantly, automation. The combination of a leak sensor plus an actuator or a smoke or gas sensor plus an actuator allows you not only to receive a notification but also to physically cut off water or gas. If you want you can add vacation mode scenarios, night modes, automatic irrigation of a plot by schedule or by soil moisture sensor. If you use Home Assistant, such an actuator fits naturally into this ecosystem when you have a compatible gateway or integration, becoming part of your overall home safety scenario. As a result, the device leaves a very coherent impression. Thought-out mechanics, metal gears, autonomous power, simple installation without cutting into pipes, support for ZigBee and Tuya, proper operation in automation and a clear usage scenario in almost any house or apartment. It is exactly such things that distinguish a toy smart home from a truly useful one. Here you get not just another gadget in the app but a real tool for protection against leaks. Personally, I can confidently recommend this actuator for purchase to everyone who already uses water or gas sensors or is just planning to build a smart home security system and wants to get not only a notification about a problem but also an automatic action that will minimize this problem. I hope the video was useful for you and I was able to show all the capabilities of this actuator. Please do not forget to give a like if you enjoyed the video and subscribe to the channel. All links to the products are in the description under the video. There is also a link to my Telegram channel, with even more gadgets, discounts, useful information about the smart home and live communication. There is a link to the smart home forum as well. The topics there are divided into sections, so it is now easier to find what you need. Do not forget about the Facebook group and also subscribe to my channel in the social network X, where interesting news and selections are also published. Once again, like and subscribe so you do not miss new reviews. Thank you all for watching, peaceful skies and all the best. Bye bye.